The instant we surpassed the light-speed barrier was a truly remarkable moment for our civilization. It heralded the beginning of a new era of discovery and potentially riches and prosperity for all of us. After confirming the unmanned vessel had functioned successfully, we hurried to construct the next ship that would carry the fortunate chosen few to the stars. What we didn't anticipate is what transpired when the crew emerged from the warp bubble. Captain, we've just arrived at the probe's location. All systems are functioning within expected parameters. Shall we commence collection? Very well, Commander. Begin collection when ready. Science Officer, how is the system scan progressing? It's proceeding as expected, sir. I'm detecting 3 rocky planets and 5 gas giants, just as predicted by the teams back home. I'm also picking up a number of small rocky bodies, likely an asteroid belt. I'll inform you if... Sir, I'm detecting what appears to be an artificial radio signal. Artificial? Intriguing. Let's hear it. Greetings, my children. I am Zorn, God of this universe, and I have observed your species grow from the very moment I created you. It brings me great pleasure to see that you have reached the stars, so much so that I have decided to reveal myself to you, so that you may bask in my glory. Science Officer, where is this coming from? Sir, I'm not certain. It just seems to be originating from a point a short distance directly ahead of us, but there's absolutely nothing there. I'm sure you have many questions, but now is not the time. You must go forth and bring glory to this galaxy and eradicate anything that is an affront to my name. Damn Vinchaka. Wait, what's that green light? Oh, shh. Sir, the transmission has ceased. What should we do? We need to return to command. We may now have a new divine mission. Hey Zorn, how's it going? Good, Max, good. The phase shift cloak appears to be holding up. Oh? What makes you say that? You know that unidentified probe we discovered last month? Yeah? Well, the owners just came for it. Oh, please don't tell me it's the Krivoth Dominions. They've always been troublesome, attacking anyone they think is interfering with their right to this galaxy. We might need to jump out and hide. Never know when they might figure out we can sit out of phase with the rest of the universe. Oh no, it's not them? That's something? So who is it then? Well, it appears to be a new species that has just achieved FTL, using warp drives to be specific. Cool, do they seem hostile? No? Send a standard greeting then. What? Size. What have you done? I, didn't realize the comm was active. What did you say? Checks comms, logs. Damn it, Zorn, you're off the first contact team. Hi, Krell. Hi, Max. What's up? I think we need to give Zorn a new assignment. He decided to mock up something to satisfy his god complex. Okay, I'm not sure why that means he needs a new assignment. And somehow managed to accidentally initiate first contact while voicing out his monologue pretending to be a god. Yes? I need to check what happened. I guess Zorn can clean the waste disposal in the meantime. He probably shouldn't be near a command console right now. I'll tell him. I'll be taking over his bridge till next shift. Why do we only have one person on the bridge so much of the time? Especially if they fill a diplomatic role and are not a bridge crew member, no matter how experienced they claim to be. We should probably look into that. Let me know if you need me for anything. Sure. So, let's see the records. Krell loads up the security recordings. Ooh, a new species. Looks like they've come to check their probe. I guess it's time to make contact. I wonder what would happen if I sent out something like Zorn mimes hitting the button, not noticing that he actually hit it. Greetings, my children. I am Zorn, God of this universe. Oh no, he didn't. You must go forth and bring honor to this galaxy and eliminate anything that offends my name. Oh dear. Krell proceeds to the bridge. Max, we need to pursue them and attempt to rectify this situation. Can we intercept them before they return? They've already returned. Blast, all right, jump to their home system, but remain out of phase. We need to observe what's happening before considering revealing ourselves. Meanwhile, on the Neo-Terra homeworld, in the Council of Progress. So, Captain, you say this radio transmission appeared from an empty point in space? Yes, that is correct. And it claimed to be a divine entity called Zorn? Yes, that is also correct. A name that is quite similar to the name of the creator in the religion of Celestia, Astraeus? It would seem so. We may need to consult with the Celestia seer. You mentioned hearing him say something about Vinchaki. Yes, I have no idea what he was referring to. I believe our equipment was experiencing some issues towards the end of the transmission. However, he didn't appear to be fond of whatever it is. We will have to see if we can uncover anything about something named Vinchaki. You are dismissed, Captain. Thank you, High Counselor. All right, Krell, we're in orbit. Cloak's still operational. They don't seem to have detected our jump. Good, keep us concealed and start monitoring what we can. Already on it, there seems to be a high-power planet-wide broadcast that just began, putting it on speaker. Greetings, my fellow followers of Celestia. Your seer brings you joyous news. The recent warp drive test has revealed something truly magnificent. Astraeus is real, and we have communicated with him. Rejoice. Well, damn. What should we do, Krell? For now, stay hidden. I just hope they think this is someone messing with them and disregard it, which I suppose it kind of is. I'm not certain I see that happening. No, but we can hope. It's easier than exposing ourselves and explaining what transpired. If the government start agreeing, we will have to intervene. All right, I'll keep us concealed and continue listening. I'll inform you if... What? Someone just initiated a waste dump. What? We now have some uncloaked waste beside the ship. We're still hidden, but the waste will be noticeable to anyone looking. There are multiple warnings in place when we're cloaked. You'd need to deliberately override them. Who on earth did that? Activates ship-wide comm. Dave, seriously? What the heck is wrong with you? Krell. So let me understand this. We have some waste floating outside the ship? Max. Yes, I managed to prevent most of the waste from being ejected, but some is still there. It seems to be the contents of the septic tank. Krell. Of course it's the septic tank. How much is it? Max. Only about a liter, mostly solid though. It was emptied just before the jump. Krell. Okay, can we dispose of it somehow? Bring it inside the cloak, conceal it somehow, or vaporize it? Max. We appear to be directly in the line of sight of one of their telescope satellites. Anything we do is just going to attract more attention. Krell. Of course we are, damn it. Do you think they noticed? Max. If the nearby ship that's now heading toward us is any indication, yes. Krell. Tell me the cloak is still working. Max. It's still functioning normally. They can't see us. Krell. Well, that's something at least. 3 more crew members rush onto the bridge. Lex. Krell, is everything all right? We just heard you yell over the comm. Krell. There's no immediate threat to us, don't worry. Zorn, on the other hand. Max. Let's not get into that right now. We need to handle the recently ejected contents of the septic tanks, which they have just collected. Jace. I'm assuming they aren't supposed to be collecting it. Please tell me it's not the Vinchaki. They haven't figured out we can cloak, and if they know we're here, they'll probably figure that out. Max. No, it's not them. It's a race that recently achieved FTL that was somehow overlooked when the scouting drone surveyed the sector. Cyrax. So why are they so curious about your human waste? Jace. Who said it's human waste? Cyrax. Well, it's not mine and every other crew member is human. Jace. Well, it's not mine either. Everyone. Jace. So Zorn just took a dump and ejected it. Right. Cyrax. Did they mention why they're interested in David's excrement? Krell. We haven't established first contact yet. Max. Not proper first contact anyway. Lex. What? Krell. We'll explain later. Return to your post, and if you spot Zorn, confine him to his quarters before he does something else. We need to get this situation under control. Back on the Neoterra homeworld, in the Council of Progress. High Counselor. You're saying this object appeared out of nowhere? Lead Astronomer. That's correct. Initially, I thought it was just a glitch in the telescope's feed, but it was moving slowly, so I dispatched the nearest maintenance ship to investigate. High Counselor. And then you collected the object? Lead Astronomer. That's also correct. Our analysis indicates it appears to be some form of biological matter. It seems to contain numerous microbial life forms. High Counselor. Intriguing. Do you have any theories about what it might be? Lead Astronomer. None that are credible enough to propose. High Counselor. Very well. Given the mysterious nature of the object and its origin, along with the recent possible revelation of Astraeus, I might consult the Celestia Seer about this. Cyrax. Hey, David. Zorn. Oh, hi, Cyrax. What's going on? Cyrax. Oh, not much. Just had an interesting few minutes. Turns out the ship-wide comm can be quite loud. Zorn. Ah, you heard that. Cyrax. Yeah, I'm supposed to confine you to your quarters. Zorn. What? I was only following orders. Cyrax. You were told to dump the waste while we were cloaked? Zorn. Well, no, but I was instructed to clean the waste disposal. Cyrax. You know, cleaning the waste disposal doesn't mean ejecting everything into space, right? It just means cleaning the disposal hatches. Zorn. No, in my defense, I don't typically do this. Cyrax. Naturally not. Well, it appears we now have an uncontacted civilization that has just acquired your waste. Zorn. Okay. So are you going to detain me then? Cyrax. I think I'll allow you to continue for now. Everyone makes mistakes occasionally, especially with unfamiliar tasks. If I were you, I'd just head to the bridge and offer them an apology. At least you didn't blunder in your role as a first-contact diplomat. Zorn. Nervously. Yeah. Imagine me being able to mess that up so easily. Anyway, I'll be off then. Cyrax. Farewell, David. High Counselor. Seer, have you uncovered anything about what the object might be in your faith? Seer. I believe I have. The scriptures of the first mention an object called the Seed of Life, which matches the description of this object perfectly. It was originally sown on Neodera by the Creator from which all life sprang. Given all the microbial life present in it, I think this could truly be it. I believe Astraeus has bestowed upon us the seed of life for us to plant on a new world to watch over. High Counselor. I suppose with how it just materialized before us out of seemingly nowhere in the recent revelation of Astraeus, it's not as far-fetched as I would have thought yesterday. Seer. I would like to keep the seed secure in our temple for safekeeping. Astraeus would want us to preserve this seed and ensure no harm befalls it. High Counselor. The full council will have to make that decision, but you may guard it until a decision is reached. Max. Krell, you're not going to believe this. Krell. I'm not sure I believe half of this situation. Max. That Celestia Seer, we intercepted that transmission from earlier, has just sent out another broadcast. Krell. Please tell me they haven't discovered us. Max. No, but I'm not sure it's much better. They have just announced they have come into possession of a divine artifact they call the Seed of Life, putting the broadcast on the main screen. Krell, I hope this isn't what I suspect it is. The screen displays the seer standing before a large crowd of reporters and religious followers. Behind him stands a pedestal draped with a large cloth. A small group of religious figures has gathered on either side, ready to unveil it. Zorn enters the bridge, but neither Krell nor Max notice as they focus on the transmission. The religious figures pull back the cloth, revealing a glass case containing a small brown object. Krell murmurs, "What the hell?" Zorn, that looks like someone just took a dump and called it art. Krell and Max turn to look at Zorn, who has just leaned against one of the bridge consoles. Krell, calmly, Zorn, I need you to go to your quarters and stay there until further notice. Zorn, but... Krell, more sternly, quarters, now. Zorn, all right. Zorn stands up straight, releasing the button he was unknowingly pressing. Computer. Warning, discharging plasma accelerator. Silence envelops the bridge. On the screen, a streak of green plasma is visible in the background of the footage captured by the reporters, dissipating harmlessly in the upper atmosphere, creating a small aurora visible to all in the area. The seer can be heard proclaiming, "Astraeus has sent us a sign. He has chosen us to carry out his will. Glory be to Astraeus." Krell, Zorn, how do you keep managing this? Zorn, I didn't intend to do that. Max, you just knocked out one of their satellites. Krell, Max, escort him to his quarters. I don't trust him to walk there alone without somehow causing an asteroid to hit the planet below us. Max, or sneezing and making the ship fly into the nearest star. Come on, Zorn. Krell, when you return, we need to figure out how to fix this mess. Hi, Counselor. Welcome everyone to this emergency council session. I appreciate your attendance on such short notice, whether in person or through the conference channels. I'm sure most of you are aware of the events that occurred yesterday. The full details of the situation should be in the document before you or can be found attached to the conference channels. In brief, a number of unexplained events have recently taken place, which we are finding difficult to explain outside of attributing them to the celestial religion. A brief recess occurs to allow the council time to thoroughly review the document. A soft murmur can be heard as segments of the council begin to discuss what they've just read. Hi, Counselor. I interpret the discussions to mean that everyone has had an opportunity to read through the document. We'll be concentrating on the main incidents we've been able to confirm, dubbed the signal, the object, and the phenomena. The other reports of activity have no proof beyond one person claimed to have witnessed something questionable and has no evidence. For now, we'll dismiss these as attempts to capitalize on the situation for minor notoriety. Counselor of Discovery. I have an inquiry. It appears all 3 events have been recorded, but have the recordings been authenticated? I can personally vouch for the recordings of the phenomena as I witnessed it myself, but the other recordings don't seem logical. Things simply materializing from nothing, especially complex signals and objects, is simply unfeasible given our current understanding. Hi, Counselor. The recordings of the signal have been verified multiple times, and the logs have been meticulously examined. The recording is 100% genuine. As for the object, it's incredibly challenging to manipulate a secure live feed from one of the satellites. Moreover, we have the object in our possession. Counselor of Discovery. If that's the case, I can provide no scientific explanation at present. I'll need to discuss this further with our scientists. Hi, Counselor. I'm not overly concerned if we don't leave today's session with answers to all our questions, but given the rapidity of the events, we need some form of basic plan to follow. Counselor of Culture. I'd just like to point out that the religion of Celestia has the only explanation for this thus far, and given the time frame and nature of the incidents, I'm inclined to believe it. It might be worthwhile to consult the seer for their input. Perhaps there are some references to events like these somewhere. Counselor of Discovery. Considering what we know, it's equally possible that this is merely a series of mishaps caused by some enigmatic and powerful extraterrestrial that has just released waste above our planet and hurled a sphere of cosmic energy at us. I suggest we don't immediately leap to divine intervention before we've had an opportunity to properly investigate. Hi, Counselor. Point noted, but given the number of coincidences, I'll see if we can bring the seer into this meeting during the next break if no one objects. Max. We're somewhat fortunate they're poor at securing their council meetings. I mean, we have access to the feed from every remote participant. Krell. Well, it works in our favor. Say, do you think we could alter what their votes are? Max. I suppose. I'm not certain if that's really a good idea, though. For one, we'd be imprisoned as soon as Command found out, and they will find out when they check the ship logs next time we dock, and I'm not sure that's really very ethical. Krell. I know, but I'm just trying to brainstorm ideas at the moment. Max. We could simply tell them what happened. Krell. And then what? Just go, ha 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 ha, typical Zorn, and pretend none of this even occurred? What if they have a pair of trickster deities called Broad and Max, and we just dig ourselves into a deeper hole? Max. Point taken, but I don't see any way to resolve this that doesn't involve us breaking Alliance law other than just coming clean. Krell. If we don't fix this, Zorn is definitely getting arrested, and most likely us too, as we didn't stop him soon enough. Hi, Counselor. Welcome back from break. The Celestia Seer is now on the diplomatic guest channel and has been brought up to speed on the situation. Seer. I thank you all for the invitation. Hi, Counselor. Let us begin. We wish to discuss your thoughts on the recent events and whether there is any mention of occurrences like this in your scriptures. Seer. I have read through the tome of prophecies and found one called The Call of Ascension. It speaks of a time when the gods will communicate with some of our people and bestow upon us a divine artifact. The prophecy then states that the skies will change color as one of the gods assumes mortal form in our world. Counselor of Culture. Fascinating. Does this suggest that one of the deities is present among us? Seer. I believe so. If they aren't yet, they will be shortly. High Counselor. That's all very intriguing, and I can see how it aligns with current events, but we need a bit more to be certain about anything. Seer. The prophecy indicates that once the deity is among us, they will grant us the ability to ascend to the stars and repel the darkness. After we vanquish the darkness, the divine artifact will then enable us to become deities ourselves. High Counselor. So I gather that if the prophecy is accurate, we'll know for certain soon. Seer. That would be correct. Counselor of Warfare. Is there any mention of what this darkness might be? I'd like to be prepared now if we have to combat anything. Seer. As with all prophecies, there's a certain lack of specificity that would prevent anyone from predicting what will happen, so they can't interfere with the prophecy's fulfillment. High Counselor. Then it's clear. For now, we must continue to observe. We need to see if more of the prophecy comes true, or if our science divisions can make sense of what's occurring. Thank you, Seer. Krell. Hugh, that was convenient. Everything we did just happens to fall into one of their prophecies. Max. Define convenient. I'd say it's more a pretty big fucking problem. Though I guess if we just kind of remain hidden, the prophecy won't come true, I suppose. Krell. Speaking of big fucking problems, it looks like the emergency message from Command Light is flashing. Max. Of course it is. It's like we're in a filler episode of Star Trek or something, patching the message through now. Central Command. This is Admiral Vex. Are you receiving this, Captain Scorn? Krell. This is Captain Crelly Scorn. I'm reading you loud and clear. Admiral Vex. I regret to inform you that the Krivoth Dominion has recently launched a large-scale offensive on sectors Delta Bravo 1-5 through Hotel Zulu 7-9. We've lost countless ships in the expeditionary stations in the area. They came so rapidly, no one had time to respond. We're beginning to mobilize our fleets, but the majority of our forces are currently stationed 7 galaxies away, and with the gateway network down due to their attacks, it could be a while before backup arrives. Your current orders are to hide and find a way to fight back without exposing yourselves to risk. You're authorized to attack targets of opportunity if necessary. Alliance Laws Section 259 to 875 have been suspended until further notice. You're now allowed to break these laws without repercussions to ensure the safety of your crew and progress of this conflict. Any questions? Krell. Just to confirm, we've been given full immunity from consequences for violating laws 259 through 875. Admiral Vex. That's correct, as long as you can justify your actions as being for your own protection or to advance the war effort. Krell. Thank you, Admiral. Please ask Command Communications to keep me informed of any significant developments in the situation. Admiral Vex. Certainly. Admiral Vex out. A brief silence enveloped the bridge. Max. Well, damn. Krell. I suppose I need to inform the crew. Activate ship-wide comm. Attention all personnel, I've just received an urgent message from Command. The Krivoth Dominion has initiated an attack on numerous sectors in the northern half of this galaxy. Casualty reports are pending, but it's believed we may be one of the few remaining Alliance ships in this galaxy. Extra-galactic reinforcements are en route. However, due to disruptions in the gateway network, we could be isolated for some time. Laws 259 to 875 are suspended at my discretion. As you're likely aware, we're currently in the southern half of the galaxy and not in immediate danger, so we'll be seeking longer-term solutions to this issue. That is all for now. Max. Again, well damn, now we have to resolve this situation with this civilization and try to find a way to fight a war. How are we supposed to manage that? Krell. We might not have to. Max. What do you mean? Krell. What laws govern interactions with non-alliance civilizations? Max, 497 to 563. You can't seriously be considering what I think you are. Krell. Max, get me Zorn. Zorn. You want me to do what? Krell. I want you to work with the situation you've created, give this species a chance to survive against the Krivoth Dominion, and possibly help us win a war. We're currently at a significant disadvantage within this galaxy, at least until the fleets arrive, which could take a very long time if we can't construct a gateway, which we're not capable of doing alone. Zorn. But won't that land us in hot water? Krell. Not at all. I've been given clearance to violate laws 259 through 875, which cover non-alliance civilization interaction regulations. Zorn. That's convenient. Krell. Perhaps, but listen, I'm attempting to resolve two problematic situations simultaneously. All you need to do is go down there, introduce yourself as Astreus or Zorn if you want to try and alter the pronunciation before it becomes irritating, and inform them you're here to assist their ascension to the stars and combat the Vinchaki darkness. It's all part of one of their prophecies. We'll provide you with several data drives containing some of our older technologies, which will still be far more advanced than anything they can develop. Hand the drives to them, persuade them to construct a gateway for our ships, and then spend some time in one of their temples where they'll likely revere you for a bit. Just try to appear distant and enigmatic, and after a week or two, we'll retrieve you, allowing events to unfold naturally. If any issues arise, we'll be able to guide you through what to do. And remember, you're a political diplomat. Creative truths to facilitate your objectives is your profession. Zorn. You know it's unlikely to be that straightforward. Max. Look, if it helps, I think this isn't the ideal plan, but it has a good chance of success and our situation demands it. If you pull this off, you'll be a hero not only to the Alliance, but also to the people below. Zorn. Krell. Do you want to be a hero? Zorn. This is your opportunity. Seize it. Zorn. Krell. Seize it. Zorn. But what if? Krell. Seize it. Zorn. All right, if this goes awry, it's on you. Krell. Don't say that. Every blunder in the past 2 days has been your fault. I'm not accepting responsibility if it continues. Now get the personal jump array prepared. I want to nail this timing. High Counselor. Before we conclude this emergency council session, are there any pressing matters we need to address? A moment later, a new topic suddenly appeared on the voting board and was somehow instantly voted on by every remotely connected council member approving the topic for discussion. All the screens displayed a single word: Dave. A brilliant flash emerged from the center of the council chambers. The chamber erupted into chaos as council members scrambled for safety, thinking they were under attack. In the middle of the chambers stood Zorn. If one listened carefully, beyond the commotion, they might have caught Zorn muttering, "Seriously? They're sentient plants?" What? Of course I was listening to the broadcast. Well, at least the bit with the boxed-up turd. The panic in the room began to shift to confusion as people started to realize the mysterious figure was simply standing there, gazing at them, looking slightly perplexed. Zorn announced, "Greetings, I am Zorn. I've come to assist your ascension to the stars and to warn you of the dark menace of the Krivoth Dominion." The panic subsided as people began to grasp the situation. Seer inquired, "Astreus, Zorn, is it really you? Are you the one who sent the message?" Zorn replied, "That signal your ship detected? Yes, that was me." Seer, "And the artifact, was that yours?" Zorn, yes, that was mine." Murmurs, "Unless someone else took a dump as well." Seer, "And the sky sign, was that you too?" Zorn, "Yeah, apologies about that satellite." Seer, "It truly is you. You look somewhat different from what I imagined. Have we been pronouncing your name incorrectly all this time?" Zorn, "Yes, I am Zorn. Don't worry about calling me Astreus, it hasn't offended me, though calling me Zorn from now on might be less confusing." Seer, "So you're here to fulfill the prophecy of ascension?" Zorn, I bring you gifts of technology beyond your wildest dreams. Technology that will grant you immense power, power to overcome the approaching darkness, power to claim your destiny and become far mightier than you can imagine. If that's the prophecy you're referring to, then perhaps I am here to fulfill it. Seer. So it's true. We are prepared. Counselor of Discovery. Did he mention a gift of technology? I think I might like him. Cyrax. Hey, Krelly. Any idea where David is? He's not in his quarters. Krell. Zorn's all right. I've released him to do some work. I think he's learned his lesson. Besides, given our current tricky situation, we need everyone prepared for anything. Cyrax. I guess that makes sense, but I did a quick search of the ship when I noticed he was missing and couldn't find him. Krell. That's because he's not aboard. Cyrax. You sent him outside? Like outside the ship and cloak outside? Krell. Something along those lines. Let's just say he's becoming a hero. Cyrax. Do I even want to ask? Krell. Probably best you don't for now. Cyrax. Krell. He's on the planet. Cyrax. What? Krell. Well, with the current situation unfolding in this galaxy and certain laws being suspended, I decided to use a more creative approach. Cyrax. I'm on a ship full of idiots. Krell. Well, I'm sure you'd understand that the Alliance wouldn't send a valuable crew on a deep space non-military scouting mission in a galaxy that a powerful and now hostile empire is trying to conquer. I mean, Zorn is our diplomat. Max, if you're done criticizing the crew, our friends are examining the technology, and some of them have taken quite an interest. They might actually construct that gateway for us at this rate. Krell. See, I told you it was a good idea. Max, you never said that, but yes, it seems that Zorn has managed to accomplish something. Krell. Initiates comm to Zorn. All right, Zorn, this is going well. You just need to maintain some pressure on them about this. So they start working on helping us fight the Vinchaki. Don't overdo it, though. We don't want them getting scared and then deciding to bunker down and hide instead. Counselor of Discovery. These designs are incredible. I never even thought of doing something like this with a magnetic field. Lead Scientist. Creating a field like this and filling it with positrons, it could absorb virtually any form of energy as long as we can maintain the field. Think of the applications. Zorn. I'm pleased you find it useful. It was intended as a protective shield for your vessels, but I'm certain you'll discover some inventive applications in other scenarios as well. Counselor of Discovery. And these cannons that can swiftly convert solid pellets into superheated plasma projectiles. I don't see many uses for this outside of military weaponry, but they could produce weapons capable of melting through virtually anything. Zorn. Almost anything? There are a few substances it can't melt through, at least not rapidly. I deliberately left some room for enhancement. I believe it would be best if I allowed you some space to advance this technology yourselves. Counselor of Discovery. Then we shall do exactly that. We will utilize the technology you've provided to ignite a flame that will dispel the darkness. Zorn. Yes, that is good. You must eradicate the Vinchaki darkness that will soon pose a threat to you. Counselor of Culture. Tell me, aren't you able to destroy them yourself? Zorn. No. What? I have depleted much of my power, battling them and other evils across the stars, and am not as formidable as I once was. This is why you must be ready to fight soon. Counselor of Warfare. Other evils? If there are worse threats than the great darkness out there, this means we need to become as powerful as possible and crush any opposition. We will do this in your name. General, have your design teams begin incorporating this technology into our ships and commence work on that gateway. We have a crusade to initiate. Zorn. No. Mutters. Damn, I'm sure I can find a way to pin this on Krell. Cyrax. What's this talk of a crusade? Krell. Blast, and he was so close to not botching this up. At least we're getting that gateway. Might have to be cautious how we use it now, though. Max. I'm really not comfortable with what he just said. Hey, Krell, do you think this is going to backfire on us? Krell. Us? Nah. Anyone that tries to come here in the future? Probably. Just remind me not to bring us back here and make sure they close off the gateway network to this galaxy. I'm sure anyone that does come in the future will find it amusing to see a galactic civilization worshipping a turd in a box, though. And so began the tale of the Neoterra Imperium's inception. They found themselves embroiled in a protracted and brutal conflict with the Krivoth Dominion, a struggle that persists to this day. It's said that one can detect the outbreak of battle in that galaxy, as each clash commences with the resonant battle cry of an exceedingly irate plant, audible across light years. For the glory of Dave. Zorn drew a deep breath. Following a particularly calamitous attempt to establish open dialogue with a certain avian species and foster goodwill, he had been reassigned as a first-contact diplomat on a vessel bound for intergalactic exploration. While the logic behind this decision eluded him, given he had anticipated dismissal after the recent debacle, he wasn't about to protest being saved from the daunting task of seeking new employment, especially as his name had become notorious in diplomatic circles for all the wrong reasons. He emerged onto the station's docking platform and glanced at his assignment details. You have been assigned to the ship IES Storm Chaser under the command of Captain Scorn. The IES Storm Chaser will be docked in Platform 2 at Bay 18. Please be there by 287.26.8 hours station time. You will be partaking in an expedition into Galaxy 752, where you will be fulfilling a diplomatic role. Naturally, the station wouldn't adhere to a standard timescale. This one was operated by the Harzar Consortium, who rejected Alliance time conventions. He looked up at the station clock. It displayed 265 hours 9. What's that? About 5 minutes? Zorn mused. He was relieved to be departing this bewildering station. Zorn's gaze fell upon the sign for the nearby bay. Platform 2, Bay 3. He began making his way down the platform towards Bay 18. He paused briefly to survey his surroundings. There appeared to be a substantial number of military corvettes and light transport gunship hybrids docked, with military personnel bustling about, readying their vessels. They were working steadily, but without undue haste. Probably just a military training convoy or something. At least it doesn't seem to be an emergency, so that's a relief. He pondered again. Most of the military personnel appeared to be human, which wasn't too surprising given that humanity essentially ran the military branch of the Alliance. As it turned out, compared to other species, humanity was like that one intoxicated guy at the bar who acts tough and keeps getting into fights, but take away the alcohol and they revert to being an accountant named Daniel. The other species simply decided to keep buying him drinks, as Daniel from accounting was quite dull, and well, while it might have been chaotic at times, humanity somehow managed to win every conflict the Alliance got into, so they just sort of continued because it was working. Zorn glanced up at the nearest bay sign, Platform 2, Bay 19. He'd walked past his bay. He turned around to see a puzzled human in a civilian flight suit doing a sort of confused wave at him. Well, this is a great start, Zorn muttered. Hello, I'm Commander Tyvek Rayner of the IES Storm Chaser. I believe you must be David Harquin, right? Yes, I'm David, though you can call me Zorn. That's certainly an unusual name. Yeah, not an easy one to say, so you can just call me Max, us being non-military and all, you don't need to worry about titles and such, outside of official Alliance work. I'd better show you aboard then. Zorn examined the ship before him. It was a fairly large vessel, about as big as you could get in one of the station's internal docking bays, roughly the size of two 747s from nose to tail, and just slightly wider than the wingspan of one at its widest point. That's quite a sizable ship, said Zorn. Yes, it's a retired Argent-class military corvette that didn't see much action. It's in excellent condition. It's just this design wasn't really agile enough for combat use. They kind of skimped on the braking thrusters. It couldn't fulfill the screening role it was designed for, and there were better ships for capital escorts, so they sold off the few thousand they had. I managed to convince them to keep the loadout due to the kind of places we plan on going, on the condition we assist any Alliance security forces at their request. That's rather unusual. You do understand our mission, right? Yeah, sort of. So what's the ship equipped with then? It's maintained its standard armament of 4 Mach 16 plasma accelerators, 2 Mach 4 light tachyon lances, 3 antimatter 48 slot MK 6 swarm missile pods, and a Mk1 Strangelet torpedo launcher, though they decided we couldn't keep the warhead for the torpedo for this mission. Something about being one fool away from intergalactic conflict. Zorn is a bit taken aback. Hold on, aren't Strangelet weapons used to destroy planets? Why do you have a planet-destroying torpedo launcher? He asked, growing increasingly concerned. Like I mentioned, we don't have the torpedo. I doubt we'll need anything more than the plasma accelerators, but they allowed us the rest, so the captain and I decided to keep it just in case. We have even more interesting things in the ship's systems, as well as a few other tricks. Should I really know what else there is? Well, the main systems at least. Mk-12 Singularity Power Core, Mk-8 Void Shields, the type that normally goes on destroyers, 80-meter thick Ethereum armor, excellent at dispersing energy, but admittedly struggles against some of the large kinds of ballistic weaponry. For navigation, we have a Class 4 jump drive, capable of instantly jumping to anywhere in the current galaxy, with a Class 1 micro warp drive as backup. We still need to use gateways for intergalactic travel. I think I'm starting to get a bit lost and a bit worried. Then just know, we are very tough and are very fast over long distances. Probably the strongest and fastest ship on the expedition we're going on. Then again, they're not sending much over in a military sense so as not to frighten anyone we come across on the expedition. Just a few hundred demothballed small ships that the Harzar Consortium used before they joined the Alliance. One more thing you should probably know about, though, Max continued. I've managed to acquire a military experimental phase cloak from a good friend. We're okay having it before you ask. It's an incredible piece of tech, literally phases us out of existence while it's active, making us completely invisible and impossible to interact with. Well, apart from some quantum mechanical nonsense. I can't wrap my head around making us somewhat detectable if we happen to fly inside someone's superposition experiment. No idea how it works, though. Jace might know a bit about how it functions if you're interested. Is all of that really necessary? And why do I feel like I'm in some kind of entertainment show where we become the saviors of the universe? Probably not, and you're just with some folks who'd rather be overprepared when entering a potentially dicey situation. Come on then, let's get through the airlock and get you to the bridge to meet the crew. Zorn followed Max onto the bridge, where he saw 4 more individuals, 3 humans and a half-snake, half-humanoid creature. Despite his interspecies diplomatic training, he couldn't recall if it was the Axoon or the Morton that had legs. He figured this wasn't the time to ask, though, and just hoped he wouldn't spend the next 5 minutes finding out while either being injected with venom or not, whilst being crushed to death. The human in the most elaborate attire spoke first. I am Captain Crelly Scorn. Welcome aboard my ship. Hi, I'm David. It's a pleasure to meet you, Captain. Please, just call me Krell. A human in overalls spoke next. I'm Lex, the ship's engineer. The other human followed. Hi, I'm Jace, the ship's scientist and cultural expert, though given your background, that second part is probably you now. The alien spoke last. Hello, David. My name is Cyrax Valor. I'm in charge of the ship's tactical operations. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Please call me Zorn. No, Cyrax replied. Okay? Krell decided to break the now awkward silence. Now that everyone's on board, let's make sure we're all up to date on our current mission. We've recently discovered that the Krivoth Dominion has launched an expansion effort into Galaxy 752. So far, we've detected no warp or hyperdrive signals from this galaxy, so we believe it's either uninhabited or all species there are either pre-FTL or are using a form of FTL we can't detect, though it's believed to be one of the former. We are to go to Galaxy 752 and search for any forms of life. Our goal isn't to try and bring more members into the Alliance, but just to observe and report back to Command, who will handle any diplomacy around Alliance integration. In the unlikely event we do encounter an FTL civilization, we have Zorn to handle diplomatic communications. We'll be traveling with a small military expedition who are there to combat the Krivoth Dominion if the situation worsens, though most likely they'll just stay hidden and pull back if no civilizations are found that want to join the Alliance. If there are no questions, then we'll depart, Everyone, to your posts. Zorn, yours is the comm station on the right side of the bridge. Is there anything you need me to do? Not at the moment. Just try to familiarize yourself while we handle the undocking procedure. Just don't press any buttons for now. Zorn was quite sure he could avoid pressing buttons if necessary, so he examined the comms console. There wasn't anything particularly remarkable about it. It was simply a standard Alliance military comms console. A few more buttons and encryption and decryption modules than the typical civilian models, but nothing that indicated he would have trouble operating the console. Sorry about Cyrax. Aksun tend to lack a filter. She prefers to use full first names for some reason. Don't worry, I've worked with Aksun before. I know they can be like that sometimes. That's good. We could be out there for a while. I'd prefer if my crew didn't feel things were awkward from the start. On a lighter note, there's a bet if you're interested in joining. We're trying to guess who will be called by their nickname first. It's a shared pot. If you join in, you get what's in the pot if you win. I might consider joining that then. I'm just curious though. Why is your crew so small? I mean, this is a fairly large ship for 6 people. Usually ships this size have a crew of 20 to 30 people. This ship is an ex-military vessel. They really aim to allow a ship to be operated by one person if needed. Almost all ship functions are fully automated. If you explore the ship more, you'd find only about a third of the ship is accessible without going through maintenance hatches. Zorn began his usual method of memorizing controls by pointing at them and repeating what they do in his mind. He was going to ensure he knew this console well by the time he needed to use it. Krell could be heard communicating with Station Command behind him. This is the IES Storm Chaser. Please confirm the plan is still for us to head to Gateway 02 for transport ahead of the expedition. Copy that. Confirm that we are clear for launch. Solid copy, preparing for launch. All hands, prepare for takeoff. And with that, the vessel began to rise. As the ship started to depart from the artificial gravity field of the station platform, the ship's own gravity activated, catching Zorn entirely off guard. As it happened, Zorn had his finger hovering over the button marked Begin Internal Broadcast. The abrupt transition caused him to lurch forward and press the button, playing the last input internal broadcast. Zorn, I thought I told you not to touch anything, Krell exclaimed. I didn't mean to, sir. I just sort of lurched and fell on it when the gravity shifted. Lex can be faintly heard shouting, Max, I told you the next time you played that I'd knock you out with my wrench. And in response, it wasn't me this time, I swear. Ah, trust Max and his poor sense of humor. To leave that saved in there, damn it. I think I'm starting to see why the torpedo warhead was taken away. This is going to be an interesting trip. 2 months have passed since Zorn appeared before the Council of Progress on Neoterra, and the IES Storm Chaser is sitting cloaked in orbit above the planet Neoterra, observing the progress being made. Fortunately, they already had in-system mining and refinement systems operational, as well as some basic forms of orbital construction, which has quickly allowed them to assemble 3 shipyards around the star system that had begun creating some experimental warships. Zorn, it looks like you might have done it. They are really taking this seriously, said Krell. Look, they're already producing warships centuries ahead of what they would otherwise be capable of, though I'm not certain their naval doctrine is too great. Just lots and lots of gunship-like vessels. Who are we to judge? All we need them to do is hold off the Krivoth Dominion for a while as they build the gateway. How are they doing on that front? Not really that well, to be completely honest. They kind of realize just a single gateway is essentially useless to them. I think they are waiting until they have a reason to build a second, Krell replied. That's somewhat concerning. It might be decades before we can get it operational again. I wouldn't necessarily say decades. They're expanding quite rapidly, having already established mining outposts in the 8 nearest systems, perhaps a few years. A few years longer than I'd prefer to be out here. It's not as if we have many options, unless you want to try and persuade them with your divine abilities to construct it faster. And what, risk turning them from holy crusaders into fanatical purifiers? I'd rather not exacerbate the situation. Again, Zorn gave Krell a patronizing look in response. Changing subjects, I wonder what prompted the Krivoth Dominion to attack us like this after an admittedly unstable peace, Krell said. I suppose it's just the sort of thing they do. I mean, you know what they're like, attacking ships that venture a bit too close. It's unfortunate you couldn't convince Alliance commanders to take the Krivoth Dominion seriously enough to dispatch one of the Alliance armadas. They don't require gateways for intergalactic travel and could resolve this entire situation within a month. Those armadas are incredibly costly to operate and can take ages to mobilize in the first place. They don't believe it's worth it. If they knew them as I do, they might reconsider. You know, I don't actually know much about them beyond their tendency to be quite aggressive, come to think of it. I don't even know their appearance. Have you ever encountered one during your other diplomatic missions? Yes, I was even part of the diplomatic team in contact with them just before I was assigned here. Krell began to feel a slight sense of unease. You were. Indeed, let me tell you about it. It was approximately 7 months ago aboard the UADS Peacemaker in Galaxy 743. The Alliance was arranging a diplomatic meeting with the Krivoth Dominion in an attempt to establish more open communications, hoping to foster good relations with the Empire after it had recently begun focusing increasingly on its intergalactic expansion efforts. This came just after they had established full control over their 6th galaxy and were looking to expand closer and closer to Alliance space. "What reason would we have to engage further with your Alliance?" inquired a large feathered being. "Words are meaningless without deeds, and your actions reveal you to be feeble and scarcely worth our consideration. Indeed, the alliance spanning over 300 galaxies is the weak one here," Zorn mused internally. "You'd prefer to talk your way out of unpleasant situations rather than forcing your way out and demonstrating your might," the creature remarked, rising to stand on all 4 of its limbs. "The Krivoth Dominion understands strength, and we demonstrate our strength through our actions. We've found that others often prefer peaceful dialogue to subjugation. Peaceful cooperation is a fundamental principle of our alliance. Our actions demonstrate our desire to avoid needless loss of life," Zorn responded. "The alliance has much to offer that could significantly enhance the prosperity of your empire and your people's quality of life. And to do so, we must abandon our way of life, a fundamental principle of our society, a cornerstone of our empire, just so you feel more comfortable with us," the Vinchaki representative retorted. "If you wish to fully benefit from the alliance, we would require you to cease subjugating smaller civilizations you encounter, but that's not the topic of today's discussion. We simply wish to communicate more openly with your empire, rather than spending months arranging a single conversation. That suits us well enough. Words are meaningless anyway. Your alliance is paralyzed by inaction. It means nothing to us. We aren't paralyzed by inaction. It's just that some members prefer a more cautious approach. The result is the same. You don't act when it matters, always talking after events unfold, never acting. That's not entirely accurate. We always respond swiftly to crises, though I admit some debates can drag on longer than they perhaps should, but we act when necessary. What about the protomorph outbreak? I'm quite certain that was a crisis, yet you did nothing to help when that was an issue. That was a challenging situation. You weren't part of the alliance and certain factions prevented aid from being sent. It wasn't until they began attacking one of our allies that we could persuade the entire alliance of the threat. It's a failure of the alliance we're determined not to repeat. And yet it has. The Tarn Swarm, the Gazanti Purifiers. We fought off both, alone, without even a passing remark from your alliance. Your words today reveal you aren't even strong enough to uphold your principles. You've sidestepped every issue I've raised that conflicts with your principles, rather than attempting to address them. Your actions reveal the nature of your alliance, that it's weak and tries to avoid issues instead of confronting them head-on with all your might. We'll soon demonstrate how a strong empire acts. All of the empire will know your name, ambassador, and your actions. We'll see how you handle us. So yeah, that was an interesting time. Zorn. Though I'm not certain it was the best one I've had. Zorn. The meetings with the Preadagy Confederacy always ended with a lot of drinking. Those were good times. Dave! What? I have a feeling you might have unintentionally started this war. No, I can see how that might have led to a war now. So, now we're at war with a multi-galactic civilization where every member knows and sort of despises a person named Zorn, and we've just performed a botched uplift to a civilization that worships a god called Zorn. And they are the very same Zorn. And that Zorn is a member of my crew, who's on a ship with no backup, about to be caught in the middle of a war with said civilizations. Does that sum it up, or is there more I should know about? I think that probably sums it up. Probably? It's been 3 months since we decided to give our friends a bit of a boost forward now, and all we've done is hover around hidden in orbit. I'm bored. Zorn, you're on a mercenary Black Ops vessel. Surely you should have anticipated this. Max, nobody informed me my assignment had even a hint of Black Ops until you were showing me around this ship. If someone had told me maybe a few minutes earlier, I might have been able to update my implant to have a couple of games on it or something. I'm surprised you don't have anything on there already. Well, I used to, but my physician advised me not to keep anything on there when I have diplomatic meetings. Something about it jeopardizing the fate of the Alliance. I didn't really understand it. I see. Can't you find some other way to amuse yourself? Zorn motioned to the view screen showing the Neoterra homeworld. All right, that's fair. I'll check if there's something I can unearth from the ship later on. I can't guarantee anything, though. We typically avoid non-essential information getting stored, as while 800 geobytes is a decent amount of spare storage, we can use that all up on extended missions if we aren't careful, particularly ones where we are trying to monitor the vast majority of developments in an entire galaxy. Thanks. Now, if you two have had enough fun being bored, I have detected an anomalous signal coming from Vinchaki space. Cyrax cut in. What? How long have you been here? Asked Zorn. What do you mean, how long have I been here? I've been on the bridge since you arrived. Do you really not notice things, David? Zorn glanced at Max. Man, help me out here. The grin on Max's face just replied, No way. Well, you have been rather quiet. Anyway, what's this about an anomalous signal? Cyrax let out a low hiss as a sigh. You can't deflect your way out of everything, but it appears similar to gateway activation, but not quite right. I didn't think they had access to gateway tech, said Zorn. They've possessed it for about 70 years now. It's why they have really begun expanding out much more rapidly now. Do you ever pay attention? Inquired Cyrax. Of course I do. Just technology isn't my forte. Well then, Commander, the reading suggests something significant occurred with it. The rift compression wave is far larger than anticipated. Either the gateway completely failed, or they possess a gateway that would rival the ones we used to relocate dwarf planets in our former mining operations. That's somewhat concerning. If it's the latter, I'd rather not imagine what they intend to bring through. I'll look into scouting them out. I'll let Krell know when he awakens. All right, I'm going to complete the tactical tasks and get some rest before we depart, Commander, Cyrax responded as she glided away. I wasn't aware we were at Condition Red, Max inquired. Cyrax paused. You know I can't pronounce your name, and I won't let anyone win that wager. You're aware of the wager? Zorn asked. It's a compact vessel, and we've been at this for quite some time now. I've known for years, she replied, before resuming her path. Zorn waited a moment, then asked Max, Why does she still refuse to call you Max after all this time? Was that rhetorical, or are you genuinely unaware? I know the Axun are particular about names, but I wouldn't have expected her to insist after so long. Zorn, you're a diplomat. Surely you're familiar with Axun culture. Well, I know a little. A little. They're one of the 3 species we established the alliance with. How can you be a diplomat and not know the key traditions of our closest allies? I don't know, it never came up. I usually handle first contacts. Max sighed. If you must know, Axun custom is to have an official name and a separate private name. Private names are reserved for immediate family. They often view full names as official and nicknames as private. Wouldn't that make your attempt to have her call you Max somewhat inappropriate then? It's a long-running joke between us. It's fine. If you say so, what's Cyrax's nickname then? What makes you think I'd be privy to that? A moment passed. Hold on. If there's a wager on getting called by a nickname, does that mean... Regrettably, that's how it began. Condition red, announced a synthetic voice throughout the ship, accompanied by a siren sounding 5 times. Red lights bordered the panels and bulkheads across the ship's interior. The weapons quietly powered to full, and the shield's capacitor banks started drawing power until they reached maximum capacity. Attention all personnel, as you're likely already aware, we're preparing to jump deep into enemy-controlled space for a reconnaissance mission. We don't intend to engage the enemy and will remain cloaked throughout. We believe the enemy is unaware of our presence, and we aim to keep it that way, Krell stated over the ship-wide comms, his voice echoing in every occupied area. He glanced at Zorn. Additional precautions have been taken to ensure we don't accidentally reveal ourselves, but please don't test them. No combat is anticipated, but as always, stay ready. Krell switched off the comm. Max, charge up the jump drive and initiate lockdown procedures. Yes, sir, Max replied. A low hum reverberated through the ship as the jump drive powered up and rotated in its housing. Zorn's console also deactivated. Jump drive charged and coordinates are locked, ready to jump at your command. Begin jump countdown. Yes, sir. The synthetic voice sounded once more. Jump drive activating in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The view screens updated with the new live feed from outside the ship. Jump complete, announced the voice. Data from the sensors began flooding in, providing details on what they were observing. I always feel like there should be some sensation or something when we jump. But no, nothing. At least warp makes your stomach lurp, said Zorn. Sir, I'm detecting over 15,000 ships. Approximately 200 of them are capital class, interrupted Cyrax. However, none of them appear to be reacting to our jump. We should be fine for now. Get me a tactical analysis on as many of those ships as possible. I want to know if we need to worry about any of them if we end up in a fight. Krell activated the comm to the science bay. Jace, see if you can determine what that burst was earlier. Nothing is immediately appearing on our standard sensors, and given the number of ships and lack of debris, I suspect it wasn't a gateway collapse. Cyrax chimed in. Sir, analysis of the vessels indicates that none of the non-capital ships have even the slightest chance of penetrating our shields and armor, and wouldn't withstand a hit from any of our weapons. Among the capital ships, I'm detecting 10 colony ships, 56 supply ships, 33 frigates, 48 destroyers, 23 cruisers, 10 battleships, 8 carriers, 3 dreadnoughts, and a supercarrier. The only vessels that pose a genuine threat are the battleships and dreadnoughts, if they manage to strike us. But the others will likely overwhelm us if we engage the entire fleet. Updated estimates of the fleet numbers show 192 capital ships, 924 escort-class ships, and 15 to 230 fighter and bomber-class ships, most of which are currently docked in the carriers. 24,946 ships in total. The supercarrier appears to have the disassembled gateway stored inside it. It's damaged but not destroyed, as I would have expected from that signal. And they couldn't make it an even 25,000 hours. Seems our Neo-Terra friends might be slightly outnumbered. They have what, about 100 gunships and 10 carrier frigates? At least the technology level is comparable now, only marginally behind. And you never know, your other 54 ships could be out on reconnaissance. I suspect they have additional fleets. This might just be the primary one. We'll need to consider providing the Neo-Terra with some new tech to compensate. See if you can determine what they're doing here. I'm observing considerable traffic between the supply ships and capital ships. It appears they are resupplying the fleet. Check for anything else? Krell activated the comm again. Jace, have you got anything for me? Possibly, came the response. It's difficult to interpret what I'm seeing, but it looks like something massive departed about an hour before we arrived. There's a hyperspace fissure that has nearly finished closing, but the readings indicate a very large craft passed through. How large are we talking? Supercarrier, Titan, Juggernaut? At least a Juggernaut, but I have a feeling that might be on the small side. The rift diameter was somewhere between 50 kilometers and 250 kilometers. I apologize. The rift is too old to narrow it down further. Is it too old to trace where it went? Unfortunately, I can narrow it down to roughly 800 systems, but odds are we won't find it in time to pick up its trail again. Thank you. Keep gathering as much data as you can until we depart. Yes, sir. Krell ended the comm. Does anyone have anything else to report? No changes to enemy activity, sir, said Cyrax. I now have a nearly complete ship log and have a good portion of their cargo manifest. Excellent. Max, how's the jump drive holding up? Ready for jump back to the Neoterra homeworld or a random safe point at a moment's notice? Good. Keep it that way. Sir, is there anything you need me to do? Asked Zorn. I suppose you could devise a way to introduce new technology to the Neoterra. Okay, sure. Zorn, your job isn't Block Ops related, so don't feel discouraged about it. Your role is about to become very significant soon, Krell reassured him. The crew spent the next hour simply observing and collecting any information they considered even somewhat useful. Sir, I've got a complete log of every ship, their loadouts, crew complement, cargo manifests. Essentially, every physical object has been logged. I'm not going to get anything else without hacking their systems, and I'd think they would notice that, said Cyrax. All right, I'm calling this OP here. It doesn't seem like anything important is going to happen soon, and I'm mindful of how much we've put the cloak through recently. I don't want to tempt fate and have it fail here where we are at risk of getting hit with something that can actually damage us. Commander, jump us out. It was a hectic day for Technician Quarren assisting with the coordination of the supply shuttles, identifying any areas of imperfection. It was looking like another 2.5 rotations before the supply distributions were finished, and his superior was on his case to shave off every fraction possible. He was about to address a 0.2% speed discrepancy when he noticed an odd signal blip on his scanners originating from an empty point in space. He briefly considered reporting it, but given the time that he would lose, he was concerned his superior would give him grief. Just a glitch, must be. Better get the discrepancy addressed promptly. At least he had an excuse now if his superior came after him. He could blame it on faulty equipment and get them to go after one of the engineers. He might even receive a bit of praise for being dedicated to his task and not letting faulty equipment hinder him. He made a quick note of it and continued with his thankless job. He was content, though, all things considered. He'd managed to catch a glimpse of the relentless fury earlier before it vanished. He knew for certain he was one of the few at his rank to even be aware of its existence, let alone to see what the Colossus looked like. Condition Green. Condition Green, announced a synthetic voice across the ship. The red lights on the panels and bulkheads switched off, and the ship's systems powered back to normal levels. Zorn's console also reactivated. Krell, it seems our shields surged slightly before we jumped, said Max. Huh, strange. I thought we fixed that power fluctuation issue a while back. Looks like Lex is going to have some fun again. You think anyone might have noticed they saw it? Doubtful. Some of their carriers had some rather powerful sensors, but they would have had to be scanning that specific area of space to really detect anything. We'll have to operate under the assumption we've been spotted. They shouldn't be able to track our jumps, so our location is almost certainly unknown to them. But we will need to be very cautious when encountering other ships. They can't harm us with the cloak up, but we can't risk losing the chance to take it down when necessary. Sir, chimed in Zorn. We're green now, Zorn. Sorry, Krell. You mentioned gifting the Neoterra more technology. What did you want to give them? Take some notes. You'll need to look into these thoroughly if you want them to make the best use of these technologies. Hi, everyone. As you may have noticed, the tone this time was a bit more serious than usual. I felt like advancing the story a bit and decided to take things a bit more seriously to get them moving along. Don't worry, Zorn will have a chance for his antics again soon. On the Neoterra homeworld, within the halls of science and engineering. Zorn, these nanoconstructors are truly remarkable, exclaimed the Counselor of Innovation. They'll reduce the construction time of our ships from weeks to less than a day. And with a few minor adjustments, we could use them to swiftly extract all the resources from asteroids. Our industrial productivity will skyrocket. Just be cautious not to let them create more of themselves. That can only end very poorly, warned Zorn. I'll make sure to establish that as a new law of engineering right away. Good. And while you're at it, ensure no one uses these as weapons until you fully comprehend the consequences. I will, the counselor said as they hurried off. At least they appear to be taking it somewhat seriously. Zorn muttered to himself. Zorn, these new warheads are brilliant. Who would have thought an uncontrolled fusion reaction could make such an effective weapon? I mean, we knew they could be hazardous, but no one ever considered causing an explosion deliberately, said the Counselor of Warfare. I know, right? Your explanation of the whole process has also given me some ideas on how we can greatly enhance our ship's fusion reactors, said the Counselor of Discovery enthusiastically. I'm just trying to ensure you all survive what is coming. You must make certain you are all prepared. It will likely be some time before the darkness arrives, but you cannot afford to be unprepared. Make the most of the technologies I have bestowed upon you, cautioned Zorn. The Prime Counselor appeared at the doorway. Ah, Zorn, I wish to speak with you, Your Grace. How can I assist? There has been considerable discussion in your absence. After much deliberation, we reached a conclusion that if you were to return, we would make you an offer to try and repay you for all you have given us. What do you mean they're attempting to make you their emperor? I don't know how else to phrase it. I appeared before the council again like last time, issued some prophecy about the Vinchaki growing stronger and that they all needed to unite to fight them. I then gave them the technology you asked me to, and now they are trying to persuade me to lead them, Zorn exclaimed. Damn it, Zorn! Why is nothing ever straightforward when you're involved? Krell sighed. They've barely seen you, and they're ready to go all in? You can't become their emperor, or we'll never get out of this situation. We might have permission to do what's necessary, but this is too much. You think I don't know that? I don't want to spend the rest of my life as their god emperor. Can't you try to suggest something about a mantle of responsibility? Or that you can show them the path, but they must walk it themselves? Or similar. I've already attempted that. They've really thought this through. They probably have the perfect counter for anything I might say. I'll keep refusing, but things are going to get uncomfortable down here soon. Is there anything else you need me to do while I still have time? Just that you need to leave at some point soon and that you may or may not return. All right, I'll see what I can do. We can recall you at a moment's notice. Any trouble, and we'll pull you out. Got it. I'd better get back to it. The comm line closed. He's in trouble, isn't he? Asked Max. Probably, replied Krell. You never know, though. Maybe if he plays it well enough, he will be getting some action. They both laughed. I feel the need to mention again that I think this whole uplift was a bad idea and is going to come back to haunt us, said Max. You just gave them 3 highly restricted technologies, on top of another 5 dangerous ones. That's not even considering the technology we gave them the first time around. Well, just remind me to recommend a galactic quarantine when we get back. You gave them jump gates. I'm not sure how effective that's going to be. In retrospect, that might have been a mistake, but we'll just have to be cautious going forward. Even with this tech, they pose less of a threat to the Alliance than the Vinchaki do. At the moment, sure, but what if they win and decide eliminating the Vinchaki from this galaxy isn't enough? What happens when they start invading other galaxies? Questioned Max. If they become even a slightly serious threat, the Alliance will dispatch a fleet. We'll be all right. But what if they don't? They haven't for the recent threats. They just allow the civilizations outside the Alliance to bear the brunt of the threat and only act if something actually occurs to Alliance members. If they're clever, they simply skirt around Alliance space until they're powerful enough to confront the Alliance. We're technologically ahead by countless millennia. They aren't close to becoming a threat. Considerably less now after what you've just given them. It's not that significant a leap. Sure, the gates would have likely taken another few thousand years or so, but the rest of the tech is at most 500, 1,000 years ahead, and they're still missing several crucial things they'll have to figure out on their own, let alone 99.9% of the linking technologies. Honestly, some of that tech they should already have. Who develops a warp drive before realizing you can use a fusion detonation as a weapon? It seems they aren't even aware quantum mechanics exists. They've essentially hit a technological roadblock no one knew existed. That's not my point. I know, but chances are they'll just fall into technological stagnation soon. If not, they'll at least have trouble developing new weapons and such. You'd better be right, or many people will lose their lives. We understand why you're not entirely open to the idea. Not being around much doesn't help, but that's what the Council will be for. It's more of an honorary position if you think about it, but you'll be able to better assist us in preparing for and fighting the coming darkness, explained the Prime Counselor. I understand that, but I came here to help you survive, not to lead you. That is something you must do yourselves, replied Zorn. And we will through the council, but having you at the top will give you the best position to ensure we survive, they responded. I'm not making any headway at all, Zorn mused. We've been at this for more than 2 hours, and they simply won't take no for an answer. We will do whatever is necessary to ensure that your divine order isn't disrupted by this. Consider this a symbol to unite all of Neoterra against the darkness. This is bound to end badly, no matter what I do. This is only a few possible outcomes, and it seems only one of them leaves us in an even slightly favorable position, he continued to ponder. You are completely certain that everything I have mentioned will be taken care of, so that no problems arise. We are completely certain. Zorn contemplated deeply. A moment of silence followed. To accept. Zorn, what on earth? I'm sorry, Krell, but assessing the overall situation, that was the best way things were going to conclude. What do you mean that was the best way things were going to conclude? You could have refused and we'd have teleported out before anything could have occurred. Now you're commanding an army of plants. What were you thinking? Krell exclaimed. That we really needed to use them to combat the Vinchaki, Zorn replied. We didn't need them to combat the Vinchaki. We needed them to construct a jump gate. Fighting the Vinchaki was just a way to use a prophecy to get them to do that. Oh? We now have to face the damn Kravoth Dominion now. Even better, you do. Well, I'm not done. We could have just carried out some covert operations, struck a few key targets, made them look like accidents, slowed down the Vinchaki until the gate was finished. But no, you have to go lead an entire species into war. Do you realize how difficult it will be to get out of this mess? What happens when the war is over? What happens when the Vinchaki see you leading the Neoterra? You do know they despise you with a burning passion, right? Krell, I know how improbable it seems, but I did think this through. I have managed to plan for most of this. Outside of the ship's meeting room stood Max and Cyrax, straining to hear what was being discussed. Oh man, I haven't heard him this angry since one of our former crew members got drunk and tried to make a move on a member of the Zephyr royal family, said Max. What happened? Asked Cyrax. Well, you see, one of our previous crew members happened to get intoxicated and attempted to woo a member of the Zephyr royal family who was nearby at the time. Cyrax gave Max an irritated look. You know what I mean. I'll tell you later. They've quieted down a bit. I can't hear what's going on anymore. Jace appeared from around the corner. Hey guys, do you know where Krell is? I finally figured out what got away from us. What are you two doing? Krelly's in there with David, and he's really upset about the stunt he just pulled. Max and I are just trying to listen to what's happening, Cyrax replied, immediately realizing her mistake. Fortunately, neither Max nor Jace seemed to notice it. Damn it, I really don't want to be the one that tells him now. Max, do you think you can give this to him when they're done in there? Jace said, handing Max a tablet. Sure, mind if I take a look? I don't see why not. You're both going to need to know. I'll be back in the science bay if anyone needs me, he said, as he turned around and walked away. When Jace was out of earshot, Max turned to Cyrax. He might not have noticed, but I did. Noticed what? Max just winked. Cyrax pulled in her hood, a sign she was embarrassed and cursed in her native tongue. Thankfully, Max didn't seem to want to push his luck, but was instead focused on the tablet. On it was a report labeled, Missing Colossus, Relentless Fury, found under Vinchaki control. Holy fucking shit, he exclaimed. And that, assuming nothing else goes wrong, should give us exactly what we want. Finished Zorn. Krell was quiet for a moment. I honestly wasn't expecting something that well thought out, and actually has a decent chance of succeeding. We might... Max burst through the door. Krell, I need to talk to you. Now! Zorn, Cyrax, we need the room. Max, what's happening? Krell inquired. Room, he answered. Zorn promptly exited and Cyrax moved away from the doorway, shutting the door. Max tossed the tablet across the table to Krell for him to read. Jace discovered what caused that rift. Fucking hell. The color had drained from both their faces. "What the hell do we even do about this?" Max questioned. "If we inform the Alliance, they'll mobilize every single fleet they have and rush into a slaughter. We need another way to handle this without triggering a massive panic. If we don't approach them with a solid plan, we're all doomed." They both stood silently for a minute. Max walked to one of the consoles on the room's wall. "What are you doing?" Krell asked. "Verifying my idea before I propose it." After a few moments, Max turned back around. "All right, I have a plan that has a decent chance of working given the circumstances, but we'll need time to prepare." Krell looked at the screen Max had just used. 2 neutron stars orbited each other at an incredibly close distance. "How long?" 3 weeks, 1 day, 14 hours. "Let's do it." Krell's voice echoed over the comm system. "All hands, please report to the meeting room." Cyrax and Zorn entered the meeting room moments later, having conveniently been just outside the door. Jace and Lex arrived a few minutes after. "Greetings, everyone. Some of you may be able to guess why I've called you all here. I've just received Jace's report on what caused the investigation a couple of days ago. It seems the Krivoth Dominion has somehow acquired one of the Alliance's lost colossi." The room fell silent as people stood in shock at what they'd just heard. Well, Cyrax and Lex did anyway. Everyone else already knew except Zorn. "A what?" "A Colossus, the Relentless Fury," Krell said. He continued, noticing Zorn's confused expression. "One of the most powerful vessels the Alliance has ever created. In total, 4 were built to combat the Voratian swarm, unimaginable horrors with ships the size of planets." He looked at the still puzzled Zorn. "Do you know anything about the Alliance beyond what occurs in the diplomatic meetings?" Yeah, sort of," answered Zorn. "All right, I guess I'll have to tell the whole story, won't I? So, a long time ago, when the Alliance was only 2,000 years old and spanned just 12 galaxies, they were assaulted by a race of hive-minded beings that took on various forms, later called the Voratian swarm, due to the fact that they consumed any living thing in their path. The Alliance was powerful, but they were no match. 3 galaxies were cut off and devoured before we'd even mounted a successful attack against them. They were simply too powerful. The Lumina, may they rest in peace, realized they were next and there was nothing they could do to stop them, so they dedicated themselves to creating ships of incredible power and size that people could only imagine at that time, which they hoped might be able to harm the enemy. They managed to finish the framework of 4 before they were consumed. They managed to send them to the Alliance at the cost of their lives, with instructions on how to complete them. Their sacrifice wasn't in vain, though, as the Alliance managed to finish the Colossi. The main weapons were far beyond anything the Alliance had at the time, and even surpassed the strongest weapons we have now. The weapons functioned by converting the target into a pulse of kinetic energy. While a weapon like that is effective against large ships, the Karatane had ships the size of planets. Imagine what happens when you turn something the size of a planet into explosive energy. Oh, crap. Exactly. They were crucial to turning the tide of the war, and are the reason we are all still here today. 3 were destroyed during the war, and we thought the 4th was too. In the final battle to push them out of our galaxies, it fired upon the largest hive ship they had, and was caught in the resulting explosion. A strange energy signature was detected within it, and a black hole appeared in its place. We thought it had been swallowed by the singularity, and was subsequently considered destroyed. And now we have just seen it in the hands of our enemy, very much intact. Oh, crap. Oh, crap indeed. A moment of quiet filled the room. Why didn't we make more? The Lumina feared what would happen if someone was able to freely produce more of the weapons, and didn't tell us how to create more. We've never had a chance to examine a Colossus well enough to recreate one. I see. So now, the plan? Krell continued. Before you ask, we've already discussed this with Alliance Command, and they've reluctantly agreed. Why reluctantly? Asked Cyrax. They want it intact. We're going to destroy it.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.